Okay, is it working now? Hope it's working now. I tried before, I was on, but there was no video feed, so hopefully this is good. It's me! Hooray! It's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. As I've said, going through Kings 2, right at the end right now, with my boys. And the vanity of the Sanheriv. Hey, Robert! Hello! Before I get into Sanheriv, king of Assyria. Robert, I do want to make a video with parables that I liked. One parable that I really like in the Old Testament, and one parable from the New Testament, as you requested. So thank you for bringing it up again. I want to do it. It was months and months ago, and I completely forgot. But I do want to make that happen. So thank you for asking again. I appreciate it. And hello, and to two other people there. Hi. So, Sanheriv, king of Assyria, he shows up. He puts Judah, right, the kingdom of Judah, under siege. Chizkiyahu, the king, he pays him off. Later on, he returns, and it doesn't look as though he's going to give up this time or be bought off, or he's coming and he's gonna, well, destroy the place. And he sends from Lachish, the king of Assyria. Sanheriv sends three of his ministers, three of his people, Rav Shaket, Tirtan, and Rav Saris. They show up not far from where I'm sitting right now. They show up and they call out to the three who came on the king's behalf, King Chizkiah's behalf. And they have some words. And Yeshayahu, well, Chizkiyahu hears of what's about to happen. Rav Shakeh, the messenger of the king, basically says, well, don't trust Adonai to save you. Could I have done all of this without Adonai? He told me to come here and take the city. It's like, that's why we're here. And later, Sanheriv does not get to destroy the city. And it is saved by Adonai. And in the Bible, we read of what Yeshayahu the prophet, he came to Chizkiah after Chizkiah prayed. And he told him, this is what God said. I hear you about Sanheriv Melech Ashur, the king of Assyria. I hear you. And to the king of Assyria, Yeshayahu, hey Karen, shalom. Good to see you here. To the king of Assyria, Yeshayahu said that the daughter of Zion is contemptuous of you. Who is it that you, right? Who is it that you're lifting your head out and shouting at? It's like, basically, who do you think you are, Sanheriv? And this is what I want to speak of right here. Sanheriv did come there, I'm sure, as the Bible says, on some level. Rav Shakeh attests to this at the behest of the Hebrew God, right, of Adonai. Rav Shakeh says, without Adonai, could I have come here and done this? And so there's an acknowledgement of that Hebrew deity. And he says, all those other people that we conquered, all of their deities, all of their gods were of no use. Melech Ashur, right? Sanheriv took them down and their gods. And nobody saved them. What makes you think Adonai is going to save you? You let me come here and do this? Adonai is not going to save you. He presses the point, and he goes a bit too far. Up until that moment, he was rather, right, Assyria at large, Rav Shakeh, the king, they were doing God's will. At some point, perhaps, it seems that they pushed their luck, and it became vanity, and it became glorifying themselves. Now, obviously, this is kings and war, things I know little about, but I can imagine how, if that was at the calling, right, of the Hebrew God, go and destroy that city, as Nebuchadnezzar did later. Nebuzaradan, his general, Rav Tabachim, he later on says, right, we were called to destroy this land. Sanheriv got that same call, but he pushed it too far. Or perhaps, because that's what Yeshayahu the prophet tells him when he speaks to Chizkiah, and he tells him, right, Bazalecha, right? The daughter of Zion is contemptuous of you. You thought, oh, I'm the tallest mountain. Ooh, I'll get to the highest tree. I'll cut it off. I am the man. then no, it crosses the line. And taking this little story of Sanheriv, I want to speak of, as far as I'm concerned, and let's open it up, when is doing God's will, and I leave the particulars up to you and whatever calling you feel, and when is doing God's will, when does it become vanity? At what point should you hold back? In what situations? Because I'll tell you, in halacha, for instance, when it speaks of Shabbos and about the three meals, right? Traditionally, three meals on Shabbos, and not everyone takes the third meal, seudah shlishit. In the halacha itself, right, in rabbinic tradition, says even if the place that you're at, or in some iteration of halacha, says even if the place that you're staying at, if you're a guest, you're staying at a household that does not observe the third meal, don't be shy. Be be of what is it? Be of what's called azut de kedusha. Be of like a sacred kind of chutzpah. Know when to speak up and say, it's cool. Just give me something tiny, like a morsel, right, that I can make kiddush on, that I could sanctify the day with and partake of the third meal. Something very small, but still say it. Don't be ashamed that you're the guest. It's not your place. They don't observe it. You should go with them. There is this. I was listening to Alan Watts earlier today, and I mean, in the last few days and way back. I haven't listened to him regularly in a while. He's a lot of fun to listen to, especially with Akira the Don's renditions in Meaning Wave. If you don't know Meaning Wave, by the way, and Akira the Don, check it out. And he says there, well, I was listening to Alan Watts. Oh wait, I had the point. It lost me. So I'll go to the chat. I was talking about Alan Watts, Akira the Don, but the thread connecting them eludes me just right now. Let's go to the chat then. Didn't his sons kill him? Yes, soon afterwards. So a messenger of the Lord, and there's different ideas on what it was. An angel of some kind, or an animal of some kind, or at any rate, divine intervention. 185,000 people died, and the king of Assyria, Sanheriv, left and went to Nineveh. And there, when he was bowing down to Nisroch, his god, he had his head taken off. They killed him. His two sons, I don't remember their names. So yes, right. So I was talking about Vanity and Sanheriv. When does it go too far? Seudah Shlishit, right? That's how I got to Alan Watts. But what was it about Alan Watts that I wanted to say? Never mind. Hey, Lisa Freyne, shalom to you. All right. So Robert says, right. So when does it become vanity? Let's see. I think he says when you're doing it for your glory instead of him, Adonai, getting the glory. Well then, glory. How would that be apparent? What I'm saying is, at what point, I mean, I was talking of halacha, right? Having that azut de kedusha, that chutzpah. I want to remember that. I want to remember that Alan Watts connection. Doesn't matter. It'll come to me later. When you're doing it for your glory, I understand what you're saying. It seems it's a very personal thing and highly subjective. Why then would halacha say that? And assuming that it's right and it's a teaching, it's a doctrine, it's Torah, to the degree that it is derived from Torah. When it says no, be bold, be steadfast, then that begs the other question of when does doing it for your glory? It's a fine line. Where do you think the line is? I don't know. It seems that God's glory is best manifested through action, right? Through creating, stirring things in the world. And if you make that sort of bold claim, being a guest in a household that isn't yours, right? And you turn to the master of the house and you say, yeah, just give me this, quickly. It's all good. Be bold. How do we have that confidence, and how do we, let's say, build that character without it spilling over into vanity and our glory? What is it that's keeping us? Well, look, humility. Humility is the key and the foundation of so many wonderful things. Robert says shalom to Lisa and to Oregon Freebird. I was going. Okay, you know what? Let's continue with Kings 2 and with the king of Assyria, with Sanheriv. The the thing that Chizkiah the king does, he goes over there with those messages from the king saying Adonai is not going to save you. The king, right, King Sanheriv goes to take care of a certain matter, and he sends messengers to King Chizkiah with letters saying this isn't over, and God is not going to rescue you. I was talking about pushing it, right? About pressing it. So Rav Shakeh, right? There was this measure of pride there, doing it for your glory. That's what brought Sanheriv down. And I think, and with this I think I'll finish, that it's up to each and every one of us, those of us who are walking a path, those of us who are trying to do God's will as we understand it, as we were taught, whatever the tradition or revelation may be, we need to always keep that in check. Things could get emotional. And this is not to say that there is no emotion in walking right before God and with God. But if there's something that you're doing that's God's will, a calling you feel, I think it behooves us to keep it that way. In, like Robert said, giving glory to God. It's done primarily with humility. A lack of humility is what brought Sanheriv down. Had Sanheriv and Rav Shakeh been more humble, maybe not sent that second message or maybe worded it differently. It's like, yeah, you're doing God's will. Yes, you can take pleasure in your work. I suppose you're a king, right? You're a conqueror. It's the nature of the times. Still goes on today, but that's beside the point. It's like, yeah, you can take pleasure in doing God's work. But know when it starts become about your own glory. Know when you need to employ some humility. You can do pleasurable things with humility. It's not necessarily you glorifying yourself, reveling in something that, no, there's room for pleasure in doing God's work. A lot of it. But know when it's starting to affect you in a bad way, where you're forgetting your place, forgetting your humility. Yeshayahu the prophet, he says, what? Who are you barking at, Sanheriv, king of Assyria? Yes, you're a great king. Yes, you brought down all those other people. But this is the creator. You're saying you're doing God's will. You're saying that without God I couldn't have been here, right? Rav Shakeh said, act that way. Recognize. So I'm going to say goodnight. Thanks for being here. It's well, okay, so 14 minutes, give or take. I'm happy I did it. I guess it was kind of slow. I just started because once again it's late. I don't know how much of this is excuses because I feel like I'm a little rambly and forgetting and forgetful. And I don't know how much of it is, well, you know what it is? It's just me broadcasting live raw is what I'm doing. It's what I love to do. And I'll keep doing it. God willing, I'll see you Friday for this week's Torah portion. Chayei Sarah. I will see you then, God willing. Cheers. Oh, wait. Robert says, that's so cool you're reading this with your kids. Laila Tov, Pinky Winky. Good night, good night.